Hey guys, Bubba here with the BubbaNews, all in one word, all in one news. How are you guys doing? I can't believe it is Wednesday. Already, April 9th. This is crazy how fast this year has gone by. Oh my goodness. Goodness. And then Easter's coming up. What a crazy time to be alive. Yeah, tonight we're going to call this one Where to Begin. We're going to talk about, seriously, where do I begin? Everything from China and the tariffs to Netanyahu with Trump and Iran. We're going to talk about the two-state solution and more countries that are going to be joining towards that. Also, what's going to happen possibly to Iran with the radiation fallout and whatnot, because there's a lot of things coming up, but goodness, seriously, where to begin? Just a real quick shout out to my buddies over there, Lauren down there in the lower left-hand corner, voice Certainty4UncertainTimes and Matt. He's there with Live By Faith Ministries, but I'm going to put the description link below. But Friday, I believe at around 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, they're going to do a premiere on the Beast technology, clones, and the chaos, and the Resurrected Wolves and the robot horses and Trump and his tariffs. So come join us over there. But very sweet shout out from her today, putting that on her Telegram and YouTube there for the video we did last night. But let's just get right to it, because I'm going to start off real quick with last night's stuff here, if I can get it over here. This is before I went to bed, because Trump's tariffs last night went up, at midnight. 12:01 a.m. Eastern, the 104% tariffs. And today he raised them to 125%. But here's the thing I wanted to point out, because additional measures have also been put into place to prevent companies from circumventing these tariffs, including a 90% or $75 per package tax on all goods coming from China or Hong Kong beginning May 2nd. 2025 at 12:01 a.m. Eastern, which will then double in price to 180% tax or $150 per package on June 1, 2025. These taxes will apply to any goods ordered from China that are transferred by a Chinese national carrier to the United States Postal Service, our mail carriers. But this will not apply to goods which are transported completely by private companies like FedEx, UPS, or DHL. This will only contribute to the financial well-being of these private companies while placing a huge disastrous financial weight on the USPS. So we've got these tariffs going on, and this is crazy. And I'm going to, because we've got rapidly rising long-term interest rates right now. The inflation data is exploding. It's the largest wave of tariffs in over 100 years. Consumer sentiment right now, the fear is at pandemic levels. And the stock market is still in a bear market, because everything changed back in February with these tariffs. But Jesus says, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. This is a verse I used for today, and we're going to follow it up tomorrow with the following verse, Matthew 7:8. But these tariffs, guys, this stuff is nuts, because when Trump came out today and he said he was going to pause the tariffs for 90 days, the stock market, cryptocurrencies, everything reversed. And we had the largest one-day increase in stocks today. It was the second largest with the tech stocks. And this was just earlier, because these are higher, but they've still dropped off now in overnight trading. But the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up over 3,000 points, the largest one-day gain in history. So, enlightened by these news, all the tech stocks were soaring today on the news of a 90-day tariff pause. I've never seen such whiplash in the markets the past few days and weeks. This is truly nuts. Trump, I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. But he slammed China, increased their tariffs to 125%, effective immediately. So this is just insane. All right, now we're going to start getting to some stuff with Israel and everything. You guys remember him? Good old Mike Huckabee. Have you ever wondered where he has been hiding? Because, he was announced, what was that, January? He was announced to be the U.S. ambassador to Israel, but he's been laying very low-key ever since. Well, it looks like he might be getting some media coverage going forward, because it changed today. The U.S. Senate today confirmed former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee to the country's ambassador to Israel position, installing this staunch pro-Israel conservative in the high-profile post amid war in Gaza and relations that have been complicated by U.S. tariffs. So Huckabee knows Israel really well. And he's a born-again Christian. He's an evangelic, He was governor of Arkansas. He's visited Israel over 100 times. He's well-positioned to work closely with Trump to bring peace to the Middle East. Huckabee will now become Netanyahu's wingman, basically to get to Trump. But he's against the two-state solution. He's against the West Bank. He's against the state of Palestine. So it'll be very interesting what happens. He might be removed via harpazo before the two-state solution comes about with the vote, so they can get that whole thing going. It's going to be interesting to watch. But this guy, I like him, but we'll see what happens. All right, let's get going to Iran, because they're still talking about the big talks coming up on Saturday in Oman. So this is a far-fetched story. But Iran, foreign diplomats estimate that the U.S. administration will offer Iran a major arms deal in exchange for halting their nuclear project. At least that's what the Israeli news, Mariv Online of Israel, reported yesterday. And it sounds far-fetched at first, but President Trump loves to make deals. Let's wait and see if these diplomats get it right, quote unquote. And it is far-fetched because Russia, China, North Korea, all of them are military suppliers to Iran, not the United States. Not since the 1970s. But, despite all the military rhetoric lately between Trump and Iran and Trump, Trump has signaled his preference for a diplomatic solution with Iran. That's what he wants to do. He wants to make a deal. He wants to do this art of the deal. One way or another, Trump is very unpredictable. And anything is possible in the next few weeks or months. Even Netanyahu, when he headed to Washington when he went there so super fast over the weekend, he wanted to clarify Israel's red lines with Iran ahead of the U.S.-Iran talks. Israel believes that President Trump fully supports the military option in Iran, but Israel's finding out that may have been an illusion. At least that's what the report says. So Netanyahu thinking that Trump fully supports the attack on Iran may be a big illusion. And Israel now realizes that they might have to act alone against Iran. So, here's Israel's fear. And this is the U.S. as well, and they know this, but Iran's going to use this negotiation period with the United States to achieve major nuclear progress. And Iran may be able to accumulate enriched uranium for more bombs and move closer to nuclear testing while these talks continue, and they're going to try to drag them out. But I still believe that the attack on Iran will be coming soon, sometime in the next 4 weeks to the next 4 months. That's what I put on Telegram today. That's my window. But, even the attack coming, it's almost a certainty at this point. Like today, the Iranian president, up here, well, let's get up here. Let's see if we can scroll in. The Iranian president, the dude right there in the middle, he visited an exhibition showcasing Iran's nuclear industry in honor of the country's National Nuclear Technology Day. Iran showcased its new nuclear achievements by holding an exhibition at the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran headquarters on Nuclear Technology Day. But keep in mind, Iran is only putting out the pictures of their civilian nuclear project for electricity. They're definitely not showing the military side of their nuclear projects. That you can make sure of. But they're still working on that. We're going to come back to Iran at the very end, because I'm going to talk about the radiation and how it's going to be ugly town. Crazy town. Is my buddy over there, oh goodness, we were talking last night with Vindog, and We're doing the Bubba report, so we're going to start doing that on Tuesday nights. But yeah, it is truly crazy town. But now we're going to switch to the two-state solution. So the French President Macron, he visited Egypt the past couple days. And today he came out and said that France will recognize the Palestinian state next, because this is one of the deadlines on their agenda. This is huge. French President Emmanuel Macron made a surprising statement this evening, Wednesday evening, when he said that France will be recognizing the new state of Palestine very soon. And I put down there's literally only 15 major countries that do not currently recognize the state of Palestine. However, the official count is 147, 149. Of the 193 UN member states do recognize the brand new state of Palestine that's coming up. That's over 75% of the United Nations. Here's the 15 I was talking about. In North America, right now, the United States and Canada do not recognize it. In Europe, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Portugal, and the United Kingdom do not recognize the state of Palestine. Australia, Japan, Myanmar, New Zealand, and South Korea do not either. In Africa, you have two countries, basically, Cameroon and Eritrea. But according to Macron, the acceptance and fanfare will take place in June of Palestine, during the joint conference of France and Saudi Arabia, which will be held in New York City at the UN Peace Conference on Israel in Palestine. Here's what Macron said today. He said, "We must move forward towards recognition of a Palestinian state, and we will do so in the coming months," he said in an interview with the French Channel 5 France. According to Macron, Paris's recognition of a Palestinian state will lead other countries that support the Palestinians to start recognizing Israel. Macron's going to flip this around. Instead of this just becoming we are now going to create a state of Palestine, they're going to create that this needs to go forward so that the Arab countries that don't recognize Israel as being a state and a nation will now start recognizing Israel as a state and a nation. So he's hitting it with both birds here. Our goal, he said, is to finish the mutual recognition process of several countries, he added. I do this because I believe that at some point it is true, and because I also want to participate in a collective dynamic, which is a peace plan, that must allow all those who defend Palestinians to recognize Israel. Something that many of them do not do now. But that's part of the Psalm 83 war, because they want to wipe Israel off the map so that the name of Israel be remembered no more ever again in existence. They don't want the state of Israel. They want the state of Palestine. This is what Israel's Arab neighbors want. And this is why there's going to still come, I believe, a Psalm 83 war to take care of this. But Macron also said that recognizing a Palestinian state will allow us to be clear in our fight against those who deny Israel's right to exist, which is happening with Iran. And we want to commit to collective security in the region. And he's referring to joining the Abraham Accords to become the Abraham Alliance. If France does recognize a Palestinian state in the coming months, it will join the ranks of countries that have already declared it during this war so far, since October 7th. I mean, even 4 European countries announced their recognition of Palestine right after Armenia did. Norway, Ireland, Spain, and Slovenia. Just 8 months ago. 10 months ago, something like that. It was just last year. Israel, in response, saw the Knesset members vote by a large majority in favor of a statement according to which the Israeli Knesset opposes the establishment of a Palestinian state. Israel's still against it. Syria's still against it. Iran is still against it. Those are basically the only 3 countries off the record, on the record, whatever, if you really dive deep into the rabbit trail, that say no to it right now. Syria, Iran, Israel. Syria is going to be dealt with Damascus. Iran's going to be hit with Elam, Jeremiah 49. because France acknowledges that once they recognize a state of Palestine, most, if not all, of the countries in the world will then come to recognize a Palestinian state. Big things are coming June 2nd to the 4th at the UN Peace Conference on the two-state solution. You know, even as far back as 2017, Macron expressed support for the two-state solution. He said, "We will continue our efforts together with the United Nations to find a solution of two states, Israel and Palestine, that will live side by side within borders that will be recognized by the international community," saying at the time, noting that Jerusalem will be the capital of both states. We'll have to keep an eye on this, because this is going to be big news going forward. The two-state solution, we're going to start hearing about it more and more, but I still believe we've got some wars kicking off. And even coming up with Iran. Like Trump says, Israel will be the leader of the military strike against Iran if Tehran doesn't give up his nuclear program. President Trump said with Iran, if it requires the military, we're going to have military. Israel will be the leader of that. But nobody leads us. We do what we want to do. In other words, Trump's saying that Israel is going to lead this military strike against Iran if Tehran doesn't give up its nuclear program.
But with Iran, if it requires military, we're going to have military. Israel will obviously be very much involved in that. It'll be the leader of that. But nobody leads us. We do what we want to do. But with Iran...
Isn't that crazy? You know it's coming. You know it's coming with Israel. You know it's coming with the United States against Iran. But check this out. After Macron today, Italy might be following in France's announcement and recognizing the state of Palestine soon as well. The dude on the left. Today, Italy's foreign minister confirmed to the prime minister and foreign minister of Palestine that the Palestinian Authority has Italy's full support with a view to strengthening Palestinian collaboration with the EU. Quote, "We continue to work for an urgent return to the ceasefire at Gaza and for the release of all hostages. Italy is at the forefront to ensure humanitarian assistance to the civilian population and to reach the two peoples, two states solution." So we've got France that's getting ready to announce, come on board. We've got Italy on the left that's about ready to come on board. Well, Saudi Arabia is back on the move again with the coming peace plan. I think he's feeling energized by Macron's announcement today discussing the two-state solution in June. The Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman discussed with the French President Emmanuel Macron, and he also had a phone call with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer about a number of topics of common interest. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Macron reviewed the relationship of their friendship and cooperation between the two countries and opportunities for their combined development to serve the common interests. In other words, regarding Israel and Palestine and the peace plan and more. Well, the two of them exchanged views on regional and international issues, and they discussed their upcoming efforts to achieve security and peace, or security and stability, as well at the June 2nd through 4th meeting and beyond. So we've got France, we've got now Britain, who will join Italy and soon announce recognition of the two-state solution in the state of Palestine as being the only way to achieving peace going forward. I'm telling you, this two-state solution is going to start picking up steam. And this is why we're going to lead into Zechariah 12, verses 2 and 3. When those who help Israel, or even try to, or, it's going to be the rock, it's going to hit them, it's going to fall down on them, they won't be able to support, because it's just going to be so crazy town. I mean, even today, in the United States, check this out. Meanwhile, the Saudi Prince Faisal bin Farhan met today with the Minister Marco Rubio in Washington, D.C. The meeting was attended by Princess Rima bint Bandar bin Sultan, who's the Saudi ambassador to the United States, another prince dude who's hard to name to say, but he is an advisor to the Minister for Political Affairs, and Mohammed Al-Yahya, who's another advisor to the minister. So The Saudi foreign minister arrived in Washington on yesterday, on an official visit to discuss strengthening relations between Saudi Arabia and the USA and to discuss the most prominent regional and international issues and developments and the efforts made on them. So this visit by Saudi Arabia, it precedes another planned visit by President Trump going to Saudi Arabia next month in May. This will be Trump's first foreign trip abroad during his second term, of all things. You know, most presidents in the past have chosen Britain to go visit first. Trump chooses Saudi Arabia. It's like you can literally see all the biblical pieces of prophecy moving into place now. All right, I'm going to take a break from the news, and we're going to talk about this real quick, but we're going to finish it up with a couple news stories at the end with Iran and whatnot. And other countries are starting to pull away from Israel and becoming more pro-Palestine, state of Palestine. But, you know, earlier tonight, I found this interesting because they were waiting for some weather to clear, but they were going to launch the rocket called Project Kuiper. And this is going to put into space a mega constellation of satellites to be placed in low Earth orbit, kind of like Elon Musk with Starlink. But the entire thing, including the rocket, has been designed and implemented by Amazon. You know, Amazon Prime, getting your packages, that Amazon. Well, supposedly this is going to connect 3 billion people in small communities all over the world with high-speed internet. Just let your imagination roam, because they're covering the entire planet so that they can track and trace every single human on the planet. The inhabitants of the earth. Revelation 3:10. It's very specific. The earth dwellers, those that are left below, because this world is their home. It's not ours. We're just passing through. But the Atlas V rocket will be carrying 27 of these Project Kuiper satellites to a 51.9 degree, 630 kilometer circular orbit. But you know what? This project is way more than just providing internet. I wonder what kind of control it could help to bring in the whole B system. I'm going to show you the video.
Years ago, we took on a journey to build the most advanced and the most modern communication system in the world. There are almost 3 billion people that don't have high-speed connectivity. Imagine if they had the ability to be connected just like you and I do, what they could do, what contributions they could make.
This mission is ambitious for a truly worthy cause. It's going to impact communities that cannot be reached with fiber traditional communications. The solution really has to be from space.
You can think of Project Kuiper as a 3-part system: the satellite constellation, the customer terminal, and just as critically, the ground network and software that ultimately deliver connectivity. We have set out to design the most advanced satellite network ever built, and we have created the whole thing in-house at Amazon.
Isn't that nuts? So you've got Starlink, you've got Amazon. Who's next? Goodness gracious. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is crazy town too, how they're just covering the entire planet with 5G, 6G, everything, the high-speed Wi-Fi, everything to connect the human being with the body of things, the Internet of Things, to become the Internet of Bodies, the Internet of Nanobodies. Oh, crazy, crazy, crazy. But next, I'm going to show Australia is next on the list, probably, and Canada is next on the list for pulling away from Israel and then going to the state of Palestine, so that Israel and Palestine can live side by side in beautiful harmony. But Australia's foreign minister refuses to say whether she would allow Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to visit the country. And she's asked if she would allow him to visit Australia without arresting him. The foreign minister of Australia refuses to say whether she would do that or not. In other words, she would oppose his visit. More countries are going to continue to despise Israel and despise Netanyahu in the days to come. I think it's safe to say that Australia will soon join Italy and France, and next the UK, Canada, New Zealand, to recognize the new state of Palestine as well. I mean, who's next? Check out this video when she's being asked all about it.
Minister, is Prime Minister Netanyahu welcome on Australian soil? Senator, I don't believe that Prime Minister Netanyahu is seeking a visit to Australia at this point.
Well, is he welcome on Australian soil, though?
Now, that's a hypothetical.
Well, it's not a hypothetical, because I can assure you, under a Dutton government, he is welcome here.
Well,
is he welcome on Australian soil under you as the Foreign Minister and Mr Albanese as the Prime Minister?
that is a hypothetical, and I won't be responding to it.
Well, you've just sent a very clear message across Australia to Jewish Australians that you are unable to answer under your government and under your leadership as our Foreign Minister whether or not the Prime Minister of Israel is welcome on Australian soil.
Senator, I'm happy to respond to this. We all understand why you're asking these questions, and you flagged that yourself by your reference to the Australian Jewish community.
Well, who else is it for? My goodness. This gal is great when she was drilling the... oh, that was great. But next is Canada, because they're going to be joining the We Recognize the State of Palestine Club. Last night in Calgary, someone shouted at Canada's new Prime Minister, "There's genocide happening in Palestine right now." Mark Carney responded, "I'm aware. That's why we have an arms embargo to Israel." You know, Canada's proud of the fact that they've stopped helping Israel with military help. But Canada was helping them by sending them, like, airplane parts and stuff. Oh, they've stopped all that. And then the crowd finishes with chants of Carney, Carney. Canada's definitely on board next.
Thank you. Thank you, Diana. I'm aware, which is why we have an arms embargo.
I mean, goodness gracious.
Thank you.
It's just, this is crazy town. You know, who's next? Seriously. I don't know. But this is getting crazy, but I'm going to finish it up with the, you know, when Israel and the United States, I believe both, and it may be Israel that leads the charge to attack Iran, you know, the Iranian radiation, the leak probably from the Bushehr nuclear power plant is going to be a huge threat to the Gulf Coast states and their water security. The coming attack on Elam will be apocalyptic in scope, I believe, because once Israel and the United States take out the Bushehr nuclear power plant, right there in red, I mean, that's right there in the Persian Gulf in Iran. I mean, it's right across from this area. It's where these Gulf Coast or the Gulf Cooperation Council states are, including Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. That will not be good. Back in 2013, the GCC countries met in Saudi Arabia to discuss a potential crisis that would arise from radiation spreading throughout the Persian Gulf. The risk of radiation from Iran's Bushehr nuclear power plant, if there is an accident or an attack on it, is extremely high to spread to the GCC states across the Persian Gulf. Studies suggest that any leak will affect the GCC's water supplies, especially their desalination plant operations. In the event of a radiation leak there at the Bushehr nuclear power plant, clouds of radioactive material will drift across the Persian Gulf to the GCC states by the weather patterns in just 15 hours. The winds will blow it that way. While the radiation would only affect about 10% of the Iranian population, because Tehran and the northern and eastern Iran, the eastern two-thirds of Iran, which is called Persia in Ezekiel 38 Gog-Magog war, they're going to be protected by the Zagros mountain range that blocks them just north of Shiraz there. But, however, in the GCC states across the water, 100% of the population would be affected. That's nuts. From radiation blowing across. So they're really nervous about that. I mean, not only would the drinking water be affected, but also the environment, and the shipping of oil and natural gas and other maritimes and goods and services would come to a halt. I mean, Iran's only nuclear power plant there in the Bushehr, I mean, they're building number 2 and number 3 with Russian help right now, but it began construction, goodness, it's now been almost 50 years. ago. And it's, second grade, basically, not first grade, not top of the line engineers, but second grade, quote unquote, engineers worked on it, while the technology being used was subpar German and Russian equipment. Germany helped them set it up in the beginning, and then Russia took over to help. But it doesn't help that Iran's nuclear power plant there in the Bushehr nuclear reactor does not belong to the Convention on Nuclear Safety. So the GCC states right across the water there, they heavily depend on desalinated water because due to a lack of natural water resources, pure water resources there in the desert of Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Oman, the focus has shifted to supplemental non-conventional sources, including desalinization of seawater and treatment of recycled wastewater. At present, there's more than 50 desalinization plants operating in the 6 GCC countries. They're right across the Persian Gulf, producing over 2/3 of the global desalinization capacity. In addition, desalinization also discharges salt back into the Arabian Gulf, so any radiation accident from Iran's nuclear Bushehr would halt those operations. So this coming attack on Elam and Iran is going to be a doozy. And that's why it tells us in Jeremiah 49 verse 36, that there will not be one nation to where the outcasts of Elam will not go. Because this is going to be a humanitarian crisis. So the two-state solution and the peace between Israel and Palestine and the coming Abraham alliance and the normalization with Israel between Saudi Arabia and Israel is all a go. It's all still on the planning board. It's all still being put together. And that's why we're seeing the puzzle pieces coming together even today with Macron talking about the two-state solution. You've got Starmer from England talking about the two-state solution. You had the phone call from the Italy dude. Then you had the prince there of Saudi Arabia visiting Marco Rubio there in Washington, D.C. So all this is still coming for implementation and to be put into place a irreversible two-state solution where they divide the land of Israel and they divide Jerusalem based on the June 4th, 1967 lines, having two states next to each other, Israel and Palestine, and there's going to come a 7-year peace plan. But this is all going to happen, I believe, and from what I've studied and researched, to take place sometime between June and September of this year. But in the meantime, if this radiation and if this Iran attack goes off, there, Jeremiah 49 verses 34 to 37, and God breaks the bow, and then there's a humanitarian crisis that breaks out, and the radiation comes across that water, and it comes right in to Riyadh and Saudi Arabia. Well, that will be just nuts. That could be the final straw before the coming two-state solution where Saudi Arabia is part of it and a peace plan. But that could be the final straw to get the Ishmaelites. Those are the people groups, the tents of Edom and the Ishmaelites. Psalm 83 verse 6. So who knows? Maybe this radiation comes into Saudi Arabia and this may be the final straw to push them into the attack on Israel in the future, just because they've been hit by Israel in a weird way by radiation, so they're going to have to go against Israel, at least for a hot minute. And I'll have to share those verses another time, but there's at least 4 unfulfilled prophecies that deal with Saudi Arabia. So we'll have to keep an eye on Saudi Arabia. All right, let's wrap this up now. It's 11:15 here Eastern Time. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. For those of you who have recently joined, and for those of you who have been with me for a couple of years, I just want to say thank you. Seriously, you guys are awesome in your comments and whatnot. And, for those back in the day, too, I know I saw an issue last night with the moderators and whatnot, but, it wasn't even that big of a moderation deal. But years ago, I made almost 300 moderators because I figured if you came to my channel and listened to me, you became a friend of mine. So I was going to make you a moderator. And there's others of those who don't believe like we do. And I'm starting to wean those down, but you know what? It's okay because a lot of people still don't understand Bible prophecy and they haven't done their due diligence and research to know these things and to see them and to see the events of the world around us using the Bible as our reader glasses. But you know what? We all started out somewhere. We've all learned a lot. Some of us have learned more than others. Others are trying to put the puzzle pieces together, because Bible prophecy, as you guys know, it's not easy. It's tricky. And trying to understand the Middle East, that alone is tricky. And then to try to combine trying to understand the Middle East with the Bible prophecies that are coming to pass, you know, the prophecies sealed or being revealed, I believe, that Daniel 12:4 and 12:9 talk about. But it's getting fun. It's getting really interesting. But you know what? We know that Jesus is coming soon. And, if I just want to be a blessing to you guys somehow. And I just want this to be all about the Lord Jesus Christ, because this is his channel, not mine. For those of you who have supported, there's donation links in the description box below. But you know what? Only if this ministry has blessed you somehow, or if it's helped you or encouraged you. But you know what? The main thing I want is prayers, because the spiritual warfare is getting crazy. So with that, I bid you adieu. But we'll talk soon, guys. It's great to talk to you. And Maranatha.